In the quiet moments before sleep, let your mind drift away, back through the mists of time, to a land of sprawling rivers and towering mountains. This is a story not of a single day or a single person, but of a river of time and a creation of stone and earth that flows through it like a sleeping dragon. This is the story of the Great Wall. Our story begins long, long ago, in a time when China was not one land but many warring states. From this chaos, a man of immense will and ambition rose, a man who would call himself Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor. He unified the lands, standardized the writing, the currency, the very width of the axles on carts. He was a man who saw the world as something to be ordered, shaped, and controlled. And as he stood upon his new throne, gazing out at the vastness of his empire, his eyes turned to the north. To the north were the steppes, a sea of grass that stretched to the horizon, and from this sea, nomadic horsemen would sometimes ride like a storm, swift and unpredictable. The small kingdoms the emperor had conquered had each built their own walls, short, disjointed lines of defense, like scattered stones in a stream. The first emperor saw not scattered stones, but a single, unbroken chain. He envisioned a wall so vast, so mighty, it would stretch for 10,000 li, a distance so great it was almost a myth. It would be a line drawn upon the earth, a declaration of where his world ended and the wild lands began. It would be a dragon of earth and stone, its spine cresting the highest mountains, its tail dipping into the sea, a silent guardian for all time. And so the work began. Imagine a young man named Wei. He is not a soldier, nor a scholar. He is a farmer from a warm, southern village where the rhythm of life is tied to the planting of rice and the gentle flow of the river. One day, a decree arrives, carried by an imperial messenger. The emperor requires workers for a great project in the north. Wei, strong and young, says his quiet goodbyes to his family, his hands still smelling of the rich soil of his fields. He promises to return with the turning of the seasons, though in his heart he does not know what to expect. His journey north is a slow unfolding of the vastness of the empire. The landscape changes from lush green paddies to golden fields of wheat, then to dusty plains, and finally to rugged windswept hills. The air grows colder, sharper. The sky seems wider, a deeper, more intimidating blue. He travels with hundreds of other men, a long, snaking line of silent figures, their footsteps a soft, shuffling rhythm on the dusty roads. They are farmers, potters, fishermen, and scholars, all bound for the emperor's grand design. When Wei finally arrives, the scale of the project stills his breath. It is not a single construction site, but 100, 1,000, stretched across the horizon. The mountains themselves seem to be alive with the movement of men. They crawl like ants over the ridges, their silhouettes stark against the sky. The air is filled with a constant, low hum, the distant sound of voices, the clatter of tools, the rhythmic, heavy thud of earth being pounded into submission. Wei is assigned to a section of the wall being built in a high mountain pass. His new home is a crude camp of tents and huts, huddled in the lee of a great cliff to escape the relentless wind. The wind is a constant companion here. It whispers through the tall grasses, howls through the rocky crags, and carries with it the chill of the northern steppes. At night, it sounds like a mournful song, a lament for the stillness it has lost. His work is simple, yet backbreakingly hard. He is part of a team building a section of rammed earth wall. The process is ancient, a slow and steady rhythm that has been passed down for generations. First, a wooden frame is built, like a long, narrow box without a top or bottom placed where the wall will stand. Then, the labor begins. Wei and the others haul baskets of earth, loam, clay, and gravel from the surrounding hillsides. They pour it into the frame, layer by layer. Each layer is only a few inches thick, and after each layer is poured, the tamping begins. Wei stands with a line of men, each holding a heavy wooden pestle. At a foreman's call, they lift their tools in unison and bring them down. Thud. The sound echoes off the mountainside. It is a solid, earthy, final sound. They lift again. Thud. And again. Thud. This is the heartbeat of the wall. It is a slow, powerful pulse that beats from sunrise to sunset. They tamp the earth until it is as hard as stone, compressing its memory of being loose soil, forcing it into a new, permanent shape. Wei's shoulders ache, his hands are calloused and raw, but he falls into the rhythm. The work becomes a meditation. Lift, drop, thud. Lift, drop, thud. His mind empties of everything but the weight of the tool, the feel of the packed earth beneath his feet, and the shared breath of the men beside him. He learns the language of the earth. He learns how a layer of gravel will help with drainage, how the right amount of clay will bind the soil together. He watches the engineers, men with scrolls and measuring rods, who study the contours of the land. They do not fight the mountains. They follow them. The wall is not a straight line forced upon the landscape, but a flowing ribbon that respects the rise and fall of the earth. It clings to the steepest ridges, a feat that seems impossible. Wei learns that the wall is not just being built on the land, but of the land. Its substance is the very ground it stands upon. The days blend into one another, marked only by the rising and setting of the sun. The food is simple: millet porridge, salted vegetables, and weak tea. In the evenings, the men gather around small fires, the flames dancing against the deepening twilight. They speak in low voices of their homes, of their families. A man from the coast describes the smell of the sea. Another, a potter, describes the feeling of shaping wet clay on a wheel. Wei speaks of the warmth of the sun on the rice paddies, the sound of crickets in the evening. These stories are like fragile treasures, carried from a distant world, shared in the cold, thin air of the north. Sometimes, a scholar among them will bring out a brush and inkstone. By the flickering firelight, he will paint characters on a scrap of silk, composing a poem about the moon hanging over the desolate pass, or the quiet strength of the men around him. He tells them they are not just building a wall, they are building a monument to the unity of the empire, a line that will be spoken of for 10,000 years. For most of the men, these are just words. They are building because they were commanded to. But for Wei, a seed of understanding is planted. He looks at the section of wall they completed that day, a solid, pale brown line against the darkening hills, and he feels a strange sense of pride. His sweat, his aching muscles are in that earth. He is a part of something immeasurably vast. The seasons turn. The fierce summer sun gives way to the crisp air of autumn. The grasses on the hills turn from green to gold, and the wind carries a new, sharper edge. The work continues, the relentless thudding of the tampers echoing in the clear, cold air. Then, winter arrives. It comes not gently, but as a great white beast, blanketing the world in snow. The work slows, but it does not stop. The men wrap themselves in padded clothes, their breath turning to frost in the air. The fires in the camp burn higher. The nights are long and filled with a profound silence, broken only by the howl of the wind. In the deep of winter, Wei looks out from the partially built wall over the northern plains. The world is a sea of white, vast and empty under a blanket of stars. The stars in the north are different, he thinks. They are brighter, colder, closer. They seem to hang just beyond the next ridge. He feels an immense loneliness, a small, warm speck in a vast, frozen world. But then he looks along the line of the wall, a dark serpent sleeping under the snow, and he sees the faint lights of other camps, other fires, stretching away into the distance, east and west. He is not alone. He is one of thousands, all of them bound by the single, monumental task. The wall connects them, even in the isolating silence of winter. Spring returns, and with it, a sense of renewal. The snow melts, feeding small torrents that rush down the mountainsides. Green shoots push their way through the damp earth. The work resumes with a new energy. And one day, the foreman declares that their section is complete. A massive watchtower, built of stone and timber, now stands guard over the pass. From its peak, you can see for miles in every direction. The rammed earth wall connects to it, a sturdy rampart that seems to have grown from the mountain itself. Wei stands at the base of the tower and touches the wall. It is cool and solid, unyielding. He can see the faint lines in the packed earth, the layers he and his companions pounded into place one by one. It is a testament not to a single heroic act, but to a million small, repeated efforts. It is a monument to quiet perseverance. Wei is eventually allowed to return home. His journey south is different. He is no longer just a farmer. He has seen the scope of the emperor's ambition, and he has been a part of it. When he finally reaches his village, the river and the rice paddies seem smaller, more gentle, a peaceful world protected by a distant, unseen line. He returns to the familiar rhythms of his old life, but sometimes, in the quiet of the evening, he looks to the north and imagines the great earthen dragon, sleeping on its mountain spine under the cold, bright stars. He knows that his hands helped build it, and he knows it will endure. Centuries pass. The first emperor's dynasty crumbles, as all things do. But the wall remains. It is a silent witness to the rise and fall of new powers. It is no longer a new creation, but a feature of the landscape, as natural as a riverbed or a mountain range. Now we find ourselves in the time of the Han Dynasty, a golden age of prosperity and expansion. The wall is more important than ever. It is not just a barrier, but a border, a highway, and a lifeline. Our story shifts to a man named Jia. He is a soldier, but not a man of great battles. His life is one of watching, of waiting. He is stationed at a watchtower in the west, where the wall has pushed out into the vast, unforgiving expanse of the Gobi Desert. Here, the wall is not made of mountain stone, but of layers of sand, gravel, and tamarisk branches, a technique born of the desert itself. It is a paler, more fragile-looking dragon. Its scales the color of sand and dried reeds, but it is no less tenacious. Jia's home is the watchtower. It is a simple, square structure of brick and earth, rising from the flat desert floor like a lone tooth. From its top, the world is a study in emptiness. The wall stretches out in either direction, a thin, unwavering line, until it shimmers and disappears into the heat haze. To the south is the empire, the source of all supplies, letters, and memories. To the north is the endless desert, a place of shifting sands and profound silence. Jia's days are governed by routine. At dawn, he climbs the ladder to the top of the tower. The air is cool and clear, the sky a pale, soft lilac. He watches the sun rise, a brilliant orb that sets the sand dunes ablaze with orange and gold. His duty is to watch the horizon. He scans the vast emptiness for any sign of movement, for the telltale plume of dust that might signal a raiding party. His eyes are sharp, accustomed to the subtle tricks of the desert light. He can distinguish the dust devil stirred by the wind from the dust raised by horses. Life in the tower is a lesson in patience. Hours can pass with nothing changing but the slow crawl of shadows across the sand. Jia shares his post with 3 other soldiers. They take turns on watch, their lives interwoven in the cramped space of the tower. They mend their leather armor, sharpen their blades, and play simple games with painted stones. They speak little, for there is little new to say. Their companionship is one of shared silence, a comfortable understanding that needs no words. The wall is their whole world. It is the path they walk for exercise, the source of their safety. It is also a communication network, a nervous system for the empire's northern frontier. On the top of Jia's tower, and every other tower stretching for hundreds of miles, is a pile of dried wolf dung mixed with straw. If Jia were to spot an enemy, he would light the pyre. The smoke, thick and black, would billow into the clear desert sky. The soldiers in the next tower to the east would see it and light their own beacon. And so the signal would pass, tower to tower, a message of smoke traveling faster than any horse, alerting the garrisons and command centers deep within the empire. 1 column of smoke for a small party, 2 for a larger one, 3 for an invasion. It is a simple, brilliant system, and Jia is a living part of it. He is the eyes of the empire. One of his companions, an older man named Bao, has been on the wall for 20 years. Bao knows the desert like a scholar knows his texts. He can predict the weather by the color of the sky at sunset. He knows the habits of the desert creatures, the shy gazelles, the nocturnal foxes. He teaches Jia how to find water by looking for certain types of vegetation. He tells him that the wall is more than a defense, it is a living thing. It breathes, Bao says one evening, as they watch the stars emerge in the velvet sky. In the heat of the day it expands, and you can hear it sigh. In the cold of the night, it shrinks, and it groans like an old man settling into sleep. Jia begins to listen, and he begins to hear it. He hears the whisper of the wind as it scours the packed earth. He hears the soft skittering of lizards on the sun-baked bricks. He feels the deep, resonant silence of the desert, a silence so profound it seems to have a sound of its own. Life is not easy. The sun is merciless in the summer. In the winter, the nights are so cold that water freezes solid in its flask. Supplies arrive by camel train, a slow, plodding caravan that is a welcome sight on the horizon. It brings grain, oil, and, most precious of all, letters from home. Jia has a wife and a young son in a village hundreds of miles away. Her letters are his most treasured possession. He reads them over and over, the paper thin and soft from handling. She writes of the harvest, of their son learning to walk, of the small details of a life he can only imagine. Her words are a cool stream in the dry desert of his days. He writes back, describing the vastness of the sky, the beauty of the desert sunrise, the camaraderie of his companions. He does not write about the loneliness or the fear that sometimes creeps in during the long, dark nights. He wants his letters to be a comfort, not a worry. One afternoon, his watch is broken. Far to the north, he sees it, a faint cloud of dust, low on the horizon. It is not the wind. It is steady, purposeful. He calls to Bao, who climbs the ladder, his older eyes squinting. "Riders," Bao says, his voice calm. "Not many. Scouts, perhaps." Jia's heart beats faster. This is the moment he has been trained for, the moment he has spent countless hours watching for. He and Bao do not hesitate. They move to the beacon pyre. With a flint and steel, they strike a spark. The tinder catches, and soon the wolf dung is smoldering, then burning, sending a single, thick column of black smoke straight up into the still air. Jia watches, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword. He sees, far to the east, a faint response. Another column of smoke rises from the next tower, and then another, further on. The message is flying. The wall is awake. The riders on the horizon see the smoke. They halt, confer, and then, slowly they turn back, melting back into the northern desert from which they came. The threat is gone. There is no battle, no clash of steel. There is only the signal, the warning, the silent, watchful strength of the wall. Jia feels not triumph, but a quiet sense of satisfaction. The system worked. He did his duty. He climbs down from the rooftop as the sun begins to set, casting long, purple shadows across the sand. The desert returns to its immense and peaceful silence. That night, under the dome of 1,000,000 stars, Jia understands his role. He is not a great hero of legend. He is like a single brick in the tower, a single reed in the wall's construction. He is small, but he is part of a grand design, a design of vigilance and endurance. And as he drifts off to sleep, to the sound of the wind whispering over the sand, he dreams of the long line of watchtowers, each with its own silent guardians, all connected by the enduring dragon of the wall, keeping watch over the sleeping empire. Asterisk, asterisk. The river of time flows on. Dynasties rise and fall like the turning of the seasons. The wall endures, sometimes neglected and crumbling, sometimes repaired and strengthened. Now we travel forward more than 1,000 years, to the great Ming dynasty. This is the era that will give the wall the form we most recognize today, a formidable beast of gray brick and solid stone, marching majestically over the most rugged and breathtaking terrain. Our story now joins a man named Chen, a master mason whose family has worked with stone for generations. He is a man of quiet authority, his hands thick and calloused, yet capable of the most delicate and precise work. His face is lined from years of squinting in the sun, and his eyes hold the patient wisdom of one who understands that stone thinks in terms of centuries, not days. With him is his young apprentice, Ling. Ling is eager, quick, but impatient. He sees a pile of rock and wants to turn it into a wall immediately. Chen is teaching him not just the craft of masonry, but the philosophy of it. The mountain is already a wall, Chen tells him one morning, as they stand on a high ridge, the mist swirling in the valley below. Our job is not to conquer it, but to listen to it. We give it a stronger skin, a stone hide. We must work with the spirit of the mountain, not against it. They are working on a section of the wall north of the new capital, Beijing. This is the most ambitious and sophisticated phase of wall building yet. The old rammed earth cores are still used, but now they are faced with massive, kiln-fired gray bricks and precisely cut stone blocks. The scale of the logistics is staggering. Ling watches, wide-eyed, as armies of workers create the materials. There are quarries where men cut huge granite blocks from the mountainside, the air filled with the sharp clink-clink-clink of hammers and chisels. There are brickworks in the valleys, great kilns that burn for days, their chimneys breathing plumes of smoke. The bricks that emerge are heavy, dense, and uniform, each one stamped with the name of the official who supervised its creation, a mark of quality and accountability. Getting these materials up the mountain is a feat of human ingenuity and sheer will. On the gentler slopes, they use carts pulled by oxen. But on the steepest inclines, where the wall clings to ridges like a hawk on a cliff edge, there is no room for carts. Here, men form human chains, passing bricks and stones from hand to hand, a slow, rhythmic flow of material up the mountainside. For the heaviest blocks, they build wooden rails and use complex systems of ropes and pulleys. Sometimes, Ling sees goats with bricks tied to their backs, nimbly scrambling up paths where men cannot easily go. Chen and Ling's work is at the very top, on the growing edge of the wall. Chen teaches Ling how to read the stone, to see the grain and the lines of potential fracture. Every stone has a face, he would say, running his hand over a rough block. You must find its best face to show the world. He shows Ling how to use the hammer and chisel not with brute force, but with focused, precise taps, flaking away the unwanted parts until the perfect shape is revealed. Their most important task is fitting the stones together. There is no room for error. The foundation stones are immense, weighing many hundreds of pounds. Once they are laid, the masons build upwards, fitting the cut stones and bricks together so tightly that a knife blade cannot be slipped between them. They use a mortar, but it is not simple sand and water. It is a special recipe, a sticky, powerful concoction of lime and, Ling is surprised to learn, rice flour. The sticky rice gives the mortar incredible strength and flexibility, helping it bind the stones together for what they hope will be an eternity. Ling's first attempts are clumsy. His stones don't quite fit. The mortar oozes out from the joints. Chen is patient. He doesn't scold. He simply takes a stone, turns it over in his hands, and with a few deft taps of his hammer, alters its shape, ever so slightly. He then places it in the wall, and it slides into place with a soft, satisfying grind. You see? He says to Ling. The stone will tell you where it wants to go. You just have to listen. Ling learns to listen. He spends less time hammering and more time looking, feeling the weight and balance of each stone. He begins to see the wall, not as a collection of individual blocks, but as a single, interlocking puzzle. His work becomes a conversation between him, his tools, and the stone. The days are long and physically demanding, but there is a deep satisfaction in the work. At the end of each day, Ling looks back at the few feet of wall they have added. It is solid, permanent. He can run his hand over the smooth, cool face of the bricks, the sturdy texture of the granite. This is real. This will last. The Ming Wall is more than just a barrier. It is a complex military system. Chen and Ling are not just building a wall. They are building fortresses, platforms, and crenellations. Every few hundred feet, they build a watchtower, taller and more formidable than the simple Han towers. These are multi-story structures, with arrow slits for archers, living quarters for the garrison, and storerooms for supplies. The top of the wall itself is a wide roadway, paved with brick, allowing soldiers and horsemen to move quickly from one tower to the next. They build crenellated battlements to protect the defenders, and weep holes at the base of the wall to allow rainwater to drain away, preventing it from weakening the structure from within. One day, Chen takes Ling to a newly completed section. It winds along a perilous ridge, its towers standing proud against the blue sky. "Look," Chen says, pointing not at the wall itself but at the landscape around it. "Do you see how it moves? It is like a dragon. The towers are its vertebrae. The wall is its long, muscular body. It does not cut the world in two. It rests upon it, a guardian spirit made of stone." Ling sees it then. He sees the way the wall dips into a saddle between two peaks, and then soars up the next, its battlements like the serrated spine of a great beast. It is a work of engineering, yes, but it is also a work of art. It is a sculpture on a continental scale. It has a fearsome beauty, a powerful grace. Years pass. Ling is no longer a boy. His hands are now calloused and sure, like his master's. Chen is older, his movements slower, but his eyes are as sharp as ever. They have worked on many miles of the wall together. They have endured scorching summers and frozen winters. They have seen men injured, and they have celebrated the completion of great towers. One evening, as they sit on a completed section of the wall, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and purple, Chen turns to Ling. "I will not see this wall finished," he says, his voice a quiet rumble. "Nor will you, nor will your children's children. It is not a task for one lifetime." Ling looks out at the endless line of the wall, disappearing into the hazy distance. He understands. He is not just a builder. He is a link in a chain, a single mason in a project that spans generations. The work he does today is built upon the foundations of those who came before him, the rammed earth walls of the Qin, the lonely watchtowers of the Han. And future generations will come after him to repair his work, to add to it, to stand watch upon it. The wall is a story being told by time itself, and he is privileged to write a single sturdy sentence. He feels a profound sense of connection, a humility in the face of the immense scale of it all. He is a part of the dragon. His skill, his patience, his listening to the stone. It is all now part of the wall's enduring spirit. As darkness falls and the stars begin to appear, a deep peace settles over him. He knows his purpose, and he knows that what he is building will stand long after he is gone, a silent stone guardian on the mountains, a testament to the enduring will of a people, and a masterpiece of quiet collective strength. Asterisk. Now, our story enters its final chapter. The centuries continue their slow, inexorable march. The Ming dynasty, for all its power, eventually fades. A new dynasty, the Qing, rises from the north, from beyond the wall. They sweep across the land and unite it under their rule. And with that, the Great Wall's primary purpose, the very reason for its existence for 2,000 years, comes to a quiet end. The empire is no longer on one side of the wall, and the threat on the other. The empire now spans both. The wall is no longer a military frontier. The garrisons are slowly withdrawn. The watchtowers, once bustling with soldiers, fall silent. The signal fires are no longer lit. The great stone dragon, which for millennia had been awake, vigilant, and coiled for a strike, finally closes its eyes and falls into a deep, long slumber. Our focus is no longer on a single person, but on the wall itself, as it begins a new life, a new relationship with time and with the natural world. In the high, remote mountains where the brick and stone of the Ming Wall still stand, a slow reclamation begins. The wind, which was once just a cold nuisance to the builders and a carrier of messages for the soldiers, is now the wall's constant companion and sculptor. Year after year it blows grit and sand against the bricks, softening their sharp edges, wearing them down with the patience of eternity. Rainwater, which the builders so carefully designed weep holes to drain, now pools in cracks and crevices. In the winter, this water freezes, expands, and pushes the stones apart with a slow, irresistible force. A tiny crack, over 100 winters, can become a great fissure. Seeds, carried on the wind or dropped by birds, find purchase in the mortar between the bricks. A small, tenacious sprout emerges, its tiny roots probing for a hold. Over seasons, it grows into a hardy bush, its roots a living wedge, patiently dislodging the masterwork of the mason Chen and his apprentice Ling. In some places, great trees grow right through the wall, their thick trunks embracing the ancient stones. The wall, which once dominated the landscape, is now becoming part of it once more. It is providing a foundation for life. The watchtowers, their wooden roofs long since rotted away, become homes for new occupants. Owls roost in the arrow slits, their soft hoots echoing in the empty chambers where soldiers once slept. Kestrels build their nests on the highest battlements, raising their young with a panoramic view of the valleys below. Foxes and badgers find shelter in the crumbling foundations. The wall is no longer a barrier to men, but a haven for animals, a long, winding sanctuary. In the west, in the desert, the slumbering dragon seems to melt back into the earth from which it was born. The sand, which was its enemy, now becomes its blanket. The wind piles great dunes against the rammed earth ramparts, burying them, preserving them under a soft golden shroud. The fragile walls of sand and tamarisk branches slowly crumble, returning to the desert floor, leaving only faint, linear mounds, like the ghostly fossils of a long-extinct creature. Yet the wall does not vanish. It endures. It changes. Its story is now told not in imperial decrees, but in the patterns of moss and lichen that grow on its shaded sides, in the trails worn on its ramparts by generations of shepherds and their flocks. For the people who live in its shadow, it is no longer a symbol of war and division. It is a quarry for building a new farmhouse. It is a raised path to get from one village to another during the rainy season. It is a familiar, comforting presence on the horizon, as much a part of their world as the sun and the moon. The wall dreams. It dreams of the thud of Chinura tampers, the earthy smell of its own creation. It dreams of the lonely Han soldier Jia, staring out at a sea of sand, his heart full of longing for a home he can barely remember. It dreams of the clink of Qin's chisel on stone, the pride in his eyes as a block fits perfectly into place. It dreams of the millions of hands that have touched it, shaped it, lived and died in its service. These memories are absorbed into its very substance, held within the packed earth and the silent stones. Time passes, and the world changes in ways the first emperor could never have imagined. New ages dawn with machines that fly and messages that cross the globe in an instant. People from all over the world now come to see the slumbering dragon. They walk on its back, their footsteps a soft echo of the soldiers who once patrolled its length. They marvel at its scale, at the sheer human effort it represents. They stand in the ruined watchtowers and try to imagine what it was like to be a guardian on this remote frontier. They see a monument of strength and defiance, but they also feel a sense of peace, of immense tranquility. The wall, in its long slumber, has acquired a new kind of power. Not the power to keep people out, but the power to draw them in. It speaks to something deep within the human spirit, the desire to create something that lasts, to leave a mark on the world, to be part of a story larger than one's own life. As you lie now, on the edge of your own sleep, imagine yourself standing on a quiet, unrestored section of the wall. It is late afternoon. The sun is low in the sky, casting a warm, golden light over everything. You are alone. Below you, the mountains roll away in shades of green and blue. The wind whispers through the gnarled pines growing from the wall itself. You run your hand over the ancient stones. They are cool and rough, textured with lichen. You close your eyes and you can almost feel the echoes of the past. You can feel the quiet perseverance of Wei, the lonely vigil of Jia, the patient craftsmanship of Chen. You can feel the immense river of time that has flowed over this spot. The wall is no longer just a wall. It is a bridge. It connects the past to the present. It connects humanity to the rugged beauty of the natural world. It is a testament to what can be accomplished. One stone, one basket of earth, one patient day at a time. The great stone dragon sleeps on, its long spine a silent, winding line across the landscape. It is at peace, its purpose fulfilled, its story now woven into the fabric of the earth itself. It guards no empire now, save for the vast and quiet empire of memory. And as you drift deeper into your own slumber, let the peaceful, enduring spirit of the Great Wall be your guardian through the night, a symbol of strength, patience, and the long, slow, beautiful dream of time.